So, let's dive into one of the most profound spiritual texts in all of human history, the Bhagavad Gita. Now, it's a conversation that takes place right on a battlefield, but its message on how to live a truly meaningful life, well, that's been echoing for thousands of years. In this explainer, we're going to walk through its core teachings, straight from the source. You know, the source material for this explainer comes with a pretty specific instruction. It says that to really get the Gita, you should take it as the speaker, Lord Krishna, intended. So that's exactly the approach we're going to take. We'll follow the dialogue between its two central figures, Arjuna and Krishna, to unpack the philosophy just as it's laid out.
All right, let's set the scene. We're on the brink of a massive civil war, on a battlefield called Kurukshetra. On one side, you have the Pandavas. They're 5 brothers and the rightful heirs to the kingdom. And on the other side, their own cousins, the Kauravas, who've stolen the throne. The armies are ready, the conch shells are blowing, the battle is literally seconds away from start.
I mean, just think about that. This is the exact question staring our hero, Arjuna, right in the face. This guy is an unmatched warrior, the best archer of his time, and he's fighting on the side of justice. But, as his charioteer, Krishna pulls him right into the middle of the two armies. He looks over at the enemy, and his courage just completely evaporates.
You can just feel the raw emotion in these words. For Arjuna, these aren't just faceless enemies. He sees his own flesh and blood, his grandfather who he loves, his teacher who he reveres, his cousins, his friends. The idea of killing them, even for a kingdom that's rightfully his, just fills him with this deep, gut-wrenching horror. His famous bow literally slips from his hands, and he just slumps down in his chariot, totally overcome by grief.
So yeah, Arjuna is completely paralyzed. He's caught in this incredible moral crisis. He argues that even if they win, the victory would be tainted, just soaked in the sin of killing his own family. And it's this moment of total despair that throws the door wide open for the timeless wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita, as he turns to his friend, who is then revealed to be the Supreme Lord Krishna, and he just begs for help.
So, how does Krishna respond? Does he give him a big, "You can do it," pep talk? Nope, not at all. Instead, he starts by completely reframing how Arjuna sees himself and everyone else on that battlefield. And this, right here, is the foundation for everything that follows. Krishna's first move is to draw this huge line in the sand between the body and the soul. He explains that the people Arjuna is so afraid of killing, well, they're not just these temporary physical bodies. The real person, the true self, is the soul inside. The body, it's born, it grows old, and it dies. But the soul? That's a whole different story.
The text gives this eternal self a name, the Atman, and it's described as completely indestructible. Krishna tells Arjuna that no weapon can cut it, no fire can burn it, no water can wet it. So, he argues, to grieve for the destruction of a physical body, well, that's to completely misunderstand who we really are at our core.
And this verse just drives the point home with an analogy that's so simple we can all get it. You know how we pass through different stages in this one life, from a baby to a kid to an adult? Well, in the same way, the soul just passes into a new body when the old one dies. For someone who's self-realized, someone who truly gets this, the change is no reason to be bewildered or to grieve.
Okay, so if the self is an eternal soul, what does that actually mean for how we should live? How should we act? If Arjuna isn't really killing the true self of his relatives, should he just get up and start fighting? Well, not so fast. This brings us to the next crucial concept, the yoga of action.
First things first, Krishna reminds Arjuna of his dharma. Now, dharma is a huge concept, but you can think of it as your prescribed duty, the role you're meant to play based on your nature. As a Kshatriya, a member of the warrior class, Arjuna's specific dharma is to fight to protect righteousness. Krishna warns him that to run away from this duty would be a great sin and would bring him nothing but shame.
But how can he possibly fight without getting all tangled up in the painful results, the killing, the suffering, the grief? The solution Krishna offers is karma yoga, the discipline of selfless action. This is the secret sauce. It's the path of doing your duty, not for what you can get out of it, but simply because it is your duty.
This verse, wow. It's probably the most famous one in the whole Gita, and the idea is absolutely revolutionary. Krishna tells Arjuna, look, your job is to do your duty. You have a right to the action, but you have no right to the results. Victory, defeat, pleasure, pain,
That's not your department. Your job is to act, and to act with total detachment from the fruits of your labor.
So this path can basically be broken down into 3 steps. First, you have to know what your duty, your dharma, is. Second, you have to do it to the absolute best of your ability. And third, and this is the hardest but most important part, you have to mentally let go of the results. Whether they're good or bad, you offer them up and stay balanced. That is the secret to finding peace, even in the middle of chaos. Now, acting without attachment is a really powerful idea, right? But the Gita then takes it one giant step further. It introduces a path that gives karma yoga an even higher purpose. It answers not just how we should act, but the ultimate why. And this is the path of bhakti yoga, the yoga of devotion. What this does is totally transform the action itself. See, you're not just doing your duty for duty's sake anymore. Now you're doing every single thing you do as a personal, loving offering to God. The motivation completely shifts from a kind of cool detachment to a warm, active, loving connection.
And what's so beautiful about this is how simple and accessible it makes the divine. Krishna isn't asking for some huge, complicated ritual. He says that any simple thing, a leaf, a flower, even a little bit of water, is accepted as long as it's offered with genuine love. It's the attitude of the heart that matters, not how big the offering is.
And this really brings us to the ultimate conclusion of the text. While the Gita talks about a few different paths of yoga, it elevates this path of bhakti, of devotion, as the highest of all. The yogi who acts out of love for Krishna, who is always thinking of him, that person is considered the greatest. This is the most direct route to purifying your life in achieving liberation.
So we have all these incredible ideas from an ancient battlefield. How in the world do we bring them into our lives today? I mean, how do these ideas of the soul and duty and devotion actually apply to you and me?
It's a totally fair question, right? Why has this one conversation resonated for thousands of years, with everyone from Western philosophers like Emerson and Thoreau to modern figures like Oppenheimer and Gandhi? The answer is because its core message, it's just truly universal. See, that battlefield, Kurukshetra, it's not just some historical place. It's a powerful metaphor for the conflicts we all face, both inside ourselves and out in the world. It represents that moment when what we feel like doing is in a head-on collision with what we know we should be doing. It's that struggle between our personal desires and our higher responsibilities.
So, let's just boil this all down. What are the big takeaways? First, the Gita teaches that your true self is the eternal soul, not this temporary body. Second, it gives us a way to find peace in a crazy world. Do your duty, but don't get hooked on the outcome. Third, it says the highest path is to turn all your actions into acts of loving devotion. And finally, real lasting peace comes from understanding our connection to the divine.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most crucial thought of all. The Gita doesn't just lay out a philosophy, it challenges us to use it. It forces us to look at our own lives and ask, where is my battlefield? What's the conflict I'm facing between my personal feelings and my responsibilities? And ultimately, what is my dharma? It's a question that is just as urgent for us today as it was for Arjuna thousands of years ago.